Serious, from personal experience, what are the signs your partner is cheating? I got mailed a wedding invitation by his fiancée of 4 years that I had thought was just a good friend of his. That was not only a clear-cut sign he was cheating, but that I was the other woman and in second place. She had a different brand of rubber in her purse. We hadn't used a condom in months. Frick you, Amanda. One of the things I'm not seeing listed here, and a lot of these are pretty good, is if you haven't changed your behavior at all but suddenly they are paranoid accusing about you cheating. My dad wasn't my partner, but I busted him for cheating on my mother when I suspected that him talking on the phone in the driveway for a half hour each night after she went to bed was not business related. I don't even know if I should have done that. The marriage ended. I think you did the right thing. I love my dad, but I would have done the same thing. Drip feeding. That is, when something originally innocuous gradually turns out to be less and less so. I was out with the girls. I was out with a mixed group. Actually it was Dave and his mates. Actually it was just Dave. Actually we weren't out. We were at his. Nothing happened. Okay, we kissed. Okay, we slept together, but it was just once. Okay, I've been fricking him for a year. Obviously it's obvious by the end, but the lesson is that by the second drip you can tell something is up, and it's going to turn out much worse. There are never only 2 drips. Trickle truth. Every relationship I had that ended because I found out they were cheating had one common denominator. They frequently accused me of cheating. Like, all the time. I have never cheated. For example, my last ex accused me of making plans to go cheat on them with an actor from TV. I didn't even know the actor's real name. I just thought the actor was cute. Cue huge fight. Find out later they've been cheating on me with just a friend. Don't worry. 5 years later the ridiculousness of it still strikes me from time to time. Mine got super pee off because I said that Cillian Murphy had nice eyes. When my ex-husband cheated on me, he just seemed to work a lot more, and during periods where it was phone online only he wouldn't let me say no to sex. It was no longer an option. Also everything I did was wrong or awful or stupid and I was the crazy, lazy B. He never did wrong. Although that could have been more down to his personality than the cheating. Being edgy or secretive about their phone calls. Keeping their phone on silent. Sudden increase in grooming new clothes. May be irrelevant for certain personalities. Being overly irritable with you for no reason. Lack of interest in sex with you. A general feeling of becoming more distant. Being out of the house more often than normal. Going through a lot of money and not telling you where it's going. Accusing you of cheating. Going outside for phone calls and hanging up if you follow. Being very overprotective about who you hang out with. Finding them snooping through all your stuff. In my defense, I was in my early 20s, only my second long-term relationship. I should have seen these as giant red flags, but, yeah, lesson learned. Even with the red flags, there's always that stupid inner voice saying nah, but we are special so we're different. There's a perfectly complicated and illogical reason that all these things are happening. I shouldn't be paranoid. Fearful of any lasting evidence of the relationship. I was with someone for many years, and was blissfully unaware she had been cheating on me for an extended time. A number of months before she left me for one of her other guys. She stopped wanting to take pictures of us together. This was in the days of film cameras, and I didn't pick up on this sudden change in behavior, because I hate having my picture taken and thought she was finally respecting my opinion, as well as saving a lot of money. Despite that, I suggested we get a portrait done of us together, as I was planning on asking her to marry me, and thought it would be nice to have. I still clearly remember her telling me she thought it wasn't a good idea, because what if we ever split up? It blew my mind, but I had some horrible stuff going on in my life that was distracting me. After she broke up with me, she told any mutual acquaintances that we'd been together for only a year, not almost 6 as we really had been, and pointed to her lack of pictures as proof I was a crazy ex obsessed with her. It never occurred to her that people who knew us all those years would be willing to say that we had been together for years, or that I still had pictures from our years together. Also, she started asking me if I would date this person or that person, and letting me know if she approved of the choices. Apparently she planned to control my dating life after she dumped me, but that's a tale for another thread. Apparently she planned to control my dating life after she dumped me. I've been through this too. It's rough because she was trying to pawn you off on someone else because she probably did feel guilty about cheating, wanting to leave, but she was a bad person, so instead of being honest, she thought if you just dated someone else too, it would make her feel less bad. In my previous relationship I was passing her phone to her and it was unlocked and her messenger app was open. I glanced at the screen but noticed a message from a guy that had XX at the end. She would barely send X's to me, never mind anyone else, so I immediately went, wait a second. She got annoyed at me, without me having to say what I was referring to. She knew, saying if you really think I'm cheating, just leave whilst going into the bathroom. Please tell me you left. Lying about where they are. I think, in my life, I am 5 to 1 in this category. 6 times in my life, a so has lied about where they were. 5 times, they were cheating. The other time, they were picking out a Valentine's gift for me. Last one sounds like a sweet person. Hope things worked out. Personal experience. If someone is extremely possessive or keeps bringing up what would happen if their partner cheated or just seems overly bent out of shape about cheating, they're probably a cheater. This couple I know. Sweetest girl I've ever met. Extremely nice. Very loyal. She was honestly head over heels for her husband even after years of marriage. It was genuinely one of those things that made me want a relationship. I wanted someone to love me that much. The guy would always say things like if you cheated on me, it would destroy me. Harmless at first, but he said it weakly. He knew her phone password and convinced her that he was always, at any time, allowed to look at her phone, to flip through her texts and pictures. If she ever changed her password to anything, he had to know immediately. Facebook, emails, phones. History must never be cleaned on the computer. Things like that. When she was talking with me to plan his surprise party, we were using codes and she was too suspicious about it and he went through our messages thinking we were fooling around behind his back. He made her cut contact with me to prove that we weren't. I wasn't allowed to talk to her, visit, call, text, email, or even use Facebook. I let it go because, well, the only option was to let it go or get mad and make things worse. 4 months later she called me. He told her he lost his phone and wanted to get a new one. So he got a new phone, new number, new plan. Said he'd cancel the other one. He even told her, as show of trust, he would let her root through his phone whenever she wanted as well. His new phone, of course. She was cleaning one day and found his old phone. She was about to bring it to him and show him, but her alarms went off so she went through it first. Password protected, but same password for his new phone. She got in. Yup, he'd been cheating for a while. Absolutely destroyed her. So, if they are so incredibly defensive about cheating, they themselves might be guilty of it and are thinking if I cheated, my partner might cheat. That sounds really abusive. Signs I knew was, she was being a little more distant. We had this among connection and about the time she went to a friend's birthday party was about the same time she started being distant. I chopped it up to being just past the honeymoon phase. Another was she suddenly had a lot of little events come up. She was usually a stay-at-home play games type of person that suddenly wanted to go out for a bit with friends or had to visit family, which she never did, so subtly in changes of plans. Lastly was a little skewy, but being suspicious will do that to a person. She will add 2-3 guys every day on Facebook around her area, and one in particular I didn't care for. It seemed like her type, so to speak. And my gut was right because a few days later I got a call from her father telling me she went out on a date with this guy who was a city over and she was dressed to impress. Broke my heart, but I have profound respect for that man. Long periods of time in which you cannot account for their whereabouts, and when they do tell you where they have been, they tell you a detailed story, in which they progressively fill in the details because it is a lie. Sad. All these out of character signs occurring at the same time was what alerted me to his cheating. Suddenly starts having a passcode on his phone and gets agitated if you accidentally see his screen whilst he's using his phone. Says he's coming home at a certain time, then shows up 9 hours later with no explanation and gets agitated when asked. Starts gaslighting, manipulating, screaming, compulsive lying and verbally abusing on a daily basis. Starts going to the gym daily even after a 12-hour work shift that involves hard labor. Starts being distant and refusing to communicate. Screams at you that he doesn't want to talk at all, not even about the weather. All his friends, none who know me personally, start hating me out of nowhere, speaking ill of me to my face and behind my back, and wishing that I die. Starts to make future plans including overseas trips that don't involve me. Starts becoming obsessed with pornography despite being strictly religious all his life. Starts eyeing off other women in public in front of me. Starts comparing me to other women and threatening me with other women. Starts getting physically abusive upon seeing me upset about his above actions. Turns out, it was revealed that he was on dating sites and was planning to send me over 700 kilometers away interstate against my will and pursue a relationship with another woman in his city, and send me money weekly and visit me on weekends to keep up the facade of a marriage. Yes, this man was my husband, now ex. Advice to everyone out there: you can never change someone who sees no wrong in their actions. How someone treats you is a reflection of who they are. OMG, this exact freaking thing happened to me. I've noticed people who cheat tend to assume and get aggressive about the idea of cheating towards their inner guilt starts to come out. My high school boyfriend never saved phone numbers into his phone. He claimed he was just too lazy. Turns out the unsaved numbers belonged to his many side girls. To be fair, some really are just that lazy. I've lost contact with quite a few friends by deleting conversations to clear out limited memory because I never bothered to save their number. Cue awkward Facebook message to get the number again. I think a lot of these responses are subjective but basically boil down to this: be aware of uncharacteristic changes in their behavior. Has your partner had a lock on their phone since day one? Probably not something to worry about. Have they not had a password on their phone and all of a sudden, for seemingly no reason, they do? Probably something to worry about. Here's the red flag I had. Her parents were quite well off and always gave us the best Christmas gifts. One Christmas, she got the usual lavish stuff. I got barely a thing, and what I did get was really thoughtless. 2 days later I discovered she was cheating with my best friend. Her parents knew. That is a nasty way to find out. Ghosted by crappy Christmas presents. Her phone was in her hand constantly. I once stood up and walked past her to see what she was typing. It was this: "Looks nice, like you." They had started to hang out a lot, going for long dog walks, going to the opera, going for dinner. She also started to be vile towards me and pick arguments out of nowhere. She had been saying things like, "Don't you think he is hot? What would you do if we had an affair?" She had stopped showing any interest in me whatsoever. She had cheated on her last girlfriend several times, and I have no doubt that she had cheated on me more than once during our time together. Yet, lesson learned. Fun topic. D from my intuition and experience. Less intimacy. Compliments you way less or way more due to guilt cover-up. But either way much less interested in everything about you. Vague or way too detailed answers to questions like "where have you been?" Changes the style of text, use of words, taste in clothes and music. Always on the phone. Leaves stuff like some jewelry that you gave them that they used to wear 24/7 in the house. This is where I started suspecting my ex-Bill cheating on my sis. Always on the phone is not always cheating. My partner is always on the phone these days. The only thing he is cheating on me with is that dang Lord's mobile game. They talk about that person a lot. They go to see them when they said they couldn't be out that night. They put that person over you. Even start defending that person. I had been dating a girl for 3 years and we had just moved in together when she decided to cheat. We both drank way too much at the time, liked to drink a lot, and we would often go out or go to parties with mutual friends at her request. After about 3 months in our new place I broke my foot, crashed racing motocross. I didn't want to go out and hobble around, and that's when I noticed changes in her behavior. Anyway, what I noticed was, she no longer wanted to spend time at home with me like we used to, watch TV together after work, play video games, etc. Started getting rides with a mutual male friend of ours, Matt, to parties or to hang out with other PPL every day after work. Asked her and said I was worried about Matt and her spending so much time together. She gave me the classic "we are just friends." You're being paranoid etc. Since we used to go out together a lot, I rationalized it away. Began to constantly text way more than usual while around me, ignoring me when we were hanging out, and being very careful to always keep her phone out of my reach where I can't read over her shoulder. Sex life went from 3-5 times a week to like once per month, and only when I begged her for it for hours. Once the sex if dropped off, I pretty much suspected she was cheating. Till then I always found a way to rationalize her behavior, or blamed myself and my foot. So I was fed up with all my suspicions one night, and after she got home, way after she said she would be home, I pretended to be asleep in bed, while she proceeded to drunkenly pass the frick out. So I went to her nightstand and looked for her phone, opened it, didn't have a password, and was treated to weeks of text logs between her and Matt. When can I see you again, I love you, blah blah blah. So then I woke her up, confronted her with her phone. She broke down, saying I was the one she really wanted. Told her to get out of our room and sleep on the couch. We continued to live together for a few months until she decided to move in with her dad in a different state after not being able to get her own place. Anyway, that's my story. Thanks for reading, internet strangers. Living in the same house but separate rooms is the worst. The second bed was crap, so we even shared the bed for a while after deciding we were splitting up. Had 2 attempts at let's just frick cuz we're frisky. Most dead and awful sex ever. I couldn't finish and felt like crap about myself. Completely killed my sex drive to the point where I didn't even feel like masturbating for almost a month. You can tell by body language and tone. A real easy one is they come home and immediately hit the shower, but it's not hot and they didn't hit the gym or done anything strenuous. Hey, I shower all the time. I don't even have an so I just enjoy showering. However, if they just start all of a sudden, that's a bit suspicious. But if they've been doing it since day one, maybe they just like it. For me, it's just my time to reflect on my day and see what kinda comebacks I can throw at my bullies next time. There see. Sudden, unexplained changes in 1. Phone usage, 2. Hygiene, grooming, and personal fitness, 3. Intimacy, 4. Spending habits, 5. General mood. It's the inexplicable nature of changes that's a real indication though. All of these things could be impacted by something like someone starting a new job. It's when there's no apparent reason, or they are cagey about the reason, that it becomes suspect. Phone usage was a huge one with my ex. It went from basically her and I texting to her getting text messages when we were hanging out and stuff like that. I went from one of the most independent people around to codependent in like 2 years. Absolutely insanity. I should have noped the frick out right then and there. For me, I could tell he was growing increasingly distant. He would tell me I wasn't putting the effort into our relationship, but when I tried to be more attentive and loving, he would withdraw. And then one awesome night, I asked him if there was someone else. He had a panic attack which left him unable to breathe, and I and his uncle rushed him to the ER. For 2 weeks after, he would send me pictures of the toll the attack had taken on his eyes and skin. I felt like a monster. It turned out that I had just hit the nail on the head and unnerved him. The worst part is that his whole family knew and had been helping him hide it because they thought I was an awful person due to some lies he had been feeding them. His uncle was paying for the secret cell phone. Everyone was encouraging him to leave me for her, not knowing I had been paying the majority of the household expenses and had been doing everything I could think of to make him happy. He also engaged in some horrible mind games, including disappearing with a gun to make me think he had gone off to kill himself. There's more, but that is easily the most traumatizing of the lot. When I found out and asked why, he said I just didn't love him enough. She's sitting around on her phone and when you sit next to her she immediately changes position so you can't see her screen. I do this cause I am just a secretive person IDK. From personal experience, she started getting weirdly jealous for no reason and began accusing me of cheating on her. It was so out of place, and after a few arguments with her, it was obvious to me what was happening. So I waited until everything was just normal and calm and I sat her down and asked her how long she had been cheating on me. She tried to deny it one time and I just told her to stop lying and try the truth. She started crying immediately. I just stayed calm and told her that we couldn't be together anymore, but there was no point in either of us getting angry and fighting. That was pretty much it. We broke up and she moved out. That was really mature from you. Hope you're good now. Being extra careful with phone content. My ex even dared me to check his phone because I was complaining about him always checking mine. I made a show of perusing his folders and I found a folder full of one person's messages. I think he even used a neutral guy name. At that point my woman intuition was itching ever so slightly, so I joked that I'd call the number. He said to go ahead. So I called the number, but he still had that smug, confident look on his face. Someone picked up on the other line and I recognized it to be my previous editor-in-chief from my unit pub. My ex started to lose it when I said hello. He can't grab his phone, so he made sure that my former ex heard my name so she won't talk anymore. Haha, I should have thrown his phone to the wall. Missed opportunities. TLDR. Putting them in a single folder and passing them off as messages from a dude won't cut it. My ex was an amateur. Blaming you for cheating. Blaming you for thinking about cheating, being attracted to others. Frequent disengagement from familiar intimacy. Conspicuously withholding details about recent events. Less eye contact. Also new sex techniques. You. Reminds me when my long-term lover at the time started asking for more anal sex. Turns out that dude was raw dogging her in the butt, CM and all, and she started asking me to do that. Looking back on that, Jesus Christ. Well, if I told you what my soon-to-be ex was up to before I found out, you would think I'm a moron for needing so many red flags to finally admit it to myself. These aren't necessarily universal, but just in my experience. More effort in grooming. Oh, so you wear makeup now? More nights out with friends. Needing to, though I forgot to grab milk more than once a week, and then being gone for 2 hours and saying you were gone so long because sometimes you just need to unwind because the kids drive you crazy from being with them all day, but when you leave a tea night all the kids are asleep already and it's just me that's awake. Going from being a once a year drinker to purchasing alcohol and keeping it in the refrigerator. Always on the cell phone. Always. Appears to be typing a lot on phone too. Not just browsing, reading videos. Insane spike in number of messages, minutes per month on cell phone bill. Cell phone never set down. Ever. Also just obviously being weird about it. -5 years of never leaving the kids to do an overnight away to doing an entire weekend away alone because kids make me crazy and need to unwind. See above. Then my friends who I haven't even been to a bar with asked me if I want an extra ticket to a romantic wine tour 3 hours away with overnight. That is what it took before I finally admitted it to myself. And finally, getting busted because your chump trusting husband got fed up and put a freaking GPS tracker in your van so he could catch your ass butt with that loser homewrecker. He had a best girlfriend. No biggie because me and her talked once and she seemed okay. He was texting her multiple times a day and I thought it was weird, but didn't say anything. He got very defensive when my best guy friend died and I was in mourning crying my eyes out every night. We eventually moved in together and he started texting another one of his girlfriends. I eventually found provocative texts and pictures on his phone. I only stayed because he was my first and I could not bear living with my parents again. It's okay to have friends of the opposite sex, but my trust can only go so far. Found another girl's hair in his bed. He blamed it on his housemate and said that his housemate and housemate's GF used his duvet for non-Aussies, and that's how the hair got there. Then there were hair ties etc around. Then I found a shirt in his cupboard that wasn't mine. He said it must have been mine, and if it wasn't it'd be his mum's. Then I went through his phone and caught him out. Now he's engaged to my cousin. Them accusing you of cheating or other bad behavior when you've done nothing wrong, then projecting their own misdeeds on you. Lying about little things to cover up big things. Are they a person who never shops for themselves but suddenly have new clothes, especially undergarments? Are they constantly spending money but can't account for it? Are they putting a 2 of miles on their car but can't explain why? Their family suddenly backs away from you. Either they're ashamed of the behavior or your so has told them lies about you to justify their own behavior. Nose is always in the cell phone rather than paying attention to you. Contacts in the cell phone will have names of people you know attached to phone numbers of their scandalous friends. If you really suspect cheating, scour your house and cast for a burner phone. I've heard of cheaters hiding them in the electrical panel of a house. My so went so far as to have his teenage son get a second cell phone on his account to hide texts and calls from me. From personal experience as the cheater, I have to disagree with some of these people. A sudden increase in sexual desire towards you. Having a new sexual partner makes you feel sexier and hornier. They might be getting it from someone else, but out of guilt and convenience they'll likely be more sexual towards you as well, in ways they weren't before. There's a difference between sex and intimacy. They might have sex with you out of guilt, but it's not the same. The affection, the real intimacy is not there. As someone who has been on that end, that's the thing that kills you the most. I think the biggest indicator was my ex hiding his phone. One time in particular, I picked up his phone to look up something and he flipped. I mean, physically attacked me to get his phone back. I don't know why I didn't get the hint there. Also, the day before he left for boot camp, he wanted to go see his friend Skylar at 9 PM. Yeah, no. Even his parents were like, what the crap, dude? Your girlfriend is more important. Suddenly busy all the time going out with the lads, but there's always a reason you can't come, even though you know his friends and get on with them well. If you keep telling yourself he must still be into you and looking for little signs he's still interested on some level, you know you don't have his full attention anymore and you're trying to deny it. Oh, he bought me that CD one wanted. I must be imagining things. Nope. Glitter in his bed. Frick you, Matthew. At least you had good taste. If you're going to cheat, bang a chick wearing glitter. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.